Okay, anglers, this week we're getting ready to witness some incredible acrobatics and unparalleled strength while fishing for tarpon from the Gulf shores down to the Florida Keys. So get ready to bow to the king because it's tarpon time here on the Florida Insider Fishing Report, which starts now.
Welcome to the Florida Insider Fishing Report, presented by Yamaha.
Welcome, Floridians, to the month of May, which brings with it the thrilling season of tarpon fishing. Rick, I know these silver kings are one of your favorite species to target, besides redfish. Why is that? Just in a nutshell, I know there's so much to talk about.
I say it every year, so I'm going to try not to say exactly the same, but you know, to be able to fish for a fish in shallow water and watch him eat a fly or watch him eat a bait, it becomes pretty intimate. And for me, that really, really works. And to have a 150-pound fish come out of the water 6 feet tall, I mean, it's just incredible.
Exactly, and addicting as well.
Absolutely.
All right, well, Rick, Dave could not join us today at the CCA workbench, so you and I will be holding down the fort for rigs and techniques and new products a little later in the show. So hopefully we make him proud, but I think we should get started with our reports. So there's no better place than the Discover Crystal River Northwest region to begin tarpon time, and there's no better captain than Jeff Hageman to tell us how to fish them. Let's hear it, Hag.
Oh, my favorite fish to chase around. When it's time to chase silver, this is my favorite time of year. Chasing a silver king, there's nothing else like it, like this was just saying. Fish that jumps out of the water, that has those gill rattling head shakes, jumps, long screaming drag runs, nothing like it. Our style of juvenile tarpon can be caught in residential canals and springs most of the year, but our major migration push is right now in the summer months, and the best time to target those bigger fish. Fishing beaches, bridges, passes, grass flats, April through August, on spinning gear, fly, plug, crabs, thread fins, and pinfish are some of the favorite live baits to fish for them. As far as flies go, over the sand, you want to fish lemon drops like when you're on the beach. Cockroach and purple and black over the grass flats are a great fly to throw up at them. As far as artificial go, swim baits and some plugs work really, really well. As far as etiquette goes, and that's a big thing when tarpon fishing, make sure you're aware of your surroundings and other people out there. You don't want to be running down the beach and run over somebody's fish that they're fishing. And a stealthy approach. Get on that rodan, sneak up to them, or get your push pole out and push up to them, and really make a better approach. And if you don't push the fish and don't get them aggressive, more than likely they're going to eat when you get up to them. Another big thing when it comes to tarpon fishing is having the right tackle. 50 to 70-pound braid, a heavy spinning rod that you can put 14 to 20 pounds of drag on them and land them quickly and safely. I see a lot of people chasing tarpon down. After that initial run, there's no sense in chasing that fish down. You're not putting a drag on them if you're following with a boat and walking the fish around. Put your boat in neutral, let them pull the boat around, and you can get those fish to the boat a whole lot quicker. When it's battling with deep tarpon, landing them quick will decrease that mortality rate and save them for next year because those fish get real old and you want to keep them around. So let them pull the boat around or don't even pick up anchor or pick up your trolling motor and just let them pull the boat around, and you'll land them pretty quick. I got a photo here from Kevin. Last year was my biggest tarpon ever landed on my boat, biggest one that I put my hands on, and this 83 by 48 pound monster was, inch monster was that fish right there.
That's a big one, bub. All right, let's go.
Girthy.
Let's keep going. What you got?
I got redfish inshore. Captain Lee Thomas out of Port St. Joe says good high tides last week have been productive. Bait fish are starting to show up, as well as larger trout and redfish, and they're feeding on that same food source and been really productive. Flashy spinner baits have been enticing those larger fish. The storms all week have been an obstacle, but he said if you can get out ahead of the weather, it will definitely pay off, and he's catching a lot of fish out there. Moving a little further south, Captain Jim Pollard out of St. Pete, he's reporting a lot of spot-sized redfish right now moving into his area, fishing oyster bars and Berry Islands. Finding the mullet schools is his way of finding the fish right now. They're not going to be far away from those mullet schools. Live and cut sardines are working well on a 3/0 circle hook with 20-pound fluorocarbon leader. And I got a photo here from Captain Lee of a beautiful, nice Port St. Joe redfish.
Nice. All right, keep going, Bubba.
We're going offshore. Captain Rob Davenport of Big Nasty Charters reports a good speckled hind bite right now, or a Kitty Mitchell. These beautiful grouper species can be caught on hard bottom in 300 feet of water or more. And right now he's fishing with 4 to 6 feet of 100-pound fluorocarbon leader, a 16-ounce lead, and a 10-ounce circle hook. Live and dead bait work really well. And his first mate, Captain Crystal, is pictured below with a beautiful speckled hind, or a Kitty Mitchell.
What a beautiful fish,
wow.
dude. Yeah,
Love
man.
those things.
Awesome. All right, keep going.
Staying offshore with Captain Rob. He's also fishing scamp bite right now, and he said it's been good right now in 150 to 175 feet of water over hard bottom ledges. He's using 60 to 80-pound fluorocarbon leader for these guys, 6 to 8 ounces of lead, 6/0 hook, and a thread fin and cut squid combo has been his bait of choice. And I got a photo here with Miss Hannah Ray with a beautiful scamp.
All right, Hag, thank you so much for all the great pictures. You did good. Thank you for starting us off this week with our tarpon species. We're gonna go ahead and take a look at the Ozella Key Marina hotspots from the Northwest region. Jeff says inshore snooker showing up on the beaches and the passes using sardines for bait and a 5/0 Eagle Claw circle hook. And then offshore, groupers over the rock piles and the ledges in 55 to 85 feet of water use pinfish for bait. You're gonna catch them.
You're gonna catch them just like those ladies did. 3 out of 4, they were all ladies. You
That's
go,
right.
girls. All right, ready to set us up for the weekend is Captain Jim Ross in the Real Legend Central East region. Thanks for co-hosting with me last week, Jim. That was so fun. Can't wait to do it again next week.
That was a lot of fun, Brie, and I really appreciate you guys inviting me into the show to fill in for Rick whenever he's not there. But I tell you what, one of the things that we really like is tarpon, and today's show is all about that. And we're excited here in the Central East region because we've actually got tarpon that have showed up early. We've got really good schools of fish, and so if you enjoy chasing them like I do, you guys and gals need to get out there because there's a lot of fish that we've been putting in the air on our recent trips. Now, most of the tarpon on the Central East Coast are in fairly large schools. So, you know, double hookups often are common, especially if you're slow trolling along the beach with pogies or pilchards or mullet. But a lot of the times, guys will run them over. Like Jeff was talking about before, you have to pay attention to what the schools are doing. So make sure you get your boat well out in front of the school and then drift through the school or come to the school on a trolling motor. Don't come to them on the main motor because it really puts them off, especially for the fish that we have inshore right now. We've got good schools of fish in the Indian and Banana Rivers right now, and there's a few showing up at the inlets as well. This past week, we actually we put 8 fish in the air throwing artificials on one day when we just found some while we happened to be trout fishing. Most of the time though, when you're fishing those fish, you're gonna fish them with 40 to 50-pound leader, and you're gonna use about a 4/0 or 5/0 circle hook with about a 6 or 7-inch mullet on the fish that are in the flats. The fish on the beaches, you can go a little heavier and you can go a little bit bigger on your baits because a lot of times those fish are up into the 150-pound range versus those fish in the river that are only about 80. I've got a picture here of one that Andy Harton Jr. caught with me. A little 30, 40-pounder, you know, a nice little fish. And this is the smaller size fish that are in these schools right now, up to about 75 or 80 pounds in the lagoon system. That fish hit a live mullet. Our second species is grouper. Guys and gals, the grouper season finally opened, and the 21 and 27 fathom ridges outside of all 3 inlets this week are showing good signs of grouper action, especially for guys bringing live croakers, live pogies, or live pinfish out there and dropping them down on the bottom. Most of the time, you're going to start with a slide and sinker rig that has an 8 to 16 ounce weight on it. And then, you know, you want to get that bait down to the bottom fairly quickly. Try and keep it out of the water column because the amberjack have a tendency to pick it up if you're over some of that high relief structure. You want to get it down below the amberjack if possible, so get it down quick. And keep a float line handy just in case, because we've had a couple of cobia, wahoo, and dolphins showing up around the boat here in the last couple of days, so just be ready for that. And then swinging inshore, speckled trout. The action continues to be really good throughout the Real Legend Central East region this week. Anglers from Vero Beach to Malabar should be able to find good numbers of trout in the region. They're feeding on glass minnows and pilchard pods in that section of the lagoon system. Those baitfish schools are hanging on the deeper flats, and so you want to try and get out a little off the shoreline for the most part to find those trout. Now, small silver spoons, all of our green colored lip diving plugs, obviously Bass Assassin Sea Shad tails and a 1/8 ounce jig head work really well on these. And good colors right now are Green Hornet, Needlefish, and Mississippi Hippie on those Assassin tails. In the lagoons from Rockledge up through Edgewater and then the Cocoa Beach area, the Banana River area, the same thing's working on the trout, but you're targeting finger mullet in that area. There's not as many of those pilchards, and so they've really targeted the finger mullet much more. And if you can find finger mullet and glass minnows mixed, great. That's a great place to find them. The recent rainfall we've had has pushed a lot of the trout out of the residential canals that we talked about over the last couple of weeks and pushed them out into those flats. Up in the north part of the section of my region, chicken on a chain, roadkill, and albino shad seem to be working best. Now our trout are running anywhere from 10 up to 22 inches, and I've got a couple of pictures here. The first one is just a typical size trout that we're catching out on the flats. You can get them top water early and of course paddle tails later. And then the second one is one that my son had. This bag actually hit a live finger mullet up under the mangroves. We have little deeper sections of mangroves that have some deeper water under them, and the trout are still holding in some of those. And then my last species is redfish. And the redfish have been moving around a whole lot right now. You're gonna find them in one place and the next day they're completely gone from there. The Indian and Banana Rivers and Mosquito Lagoon all have good redfish in them, but you're going to have to move. So that pattern that worked for you one day is not necessarily going to work the next. The most consistent thing that I've found recently is to look for wind-blown points. That's where the redfish are kind of setting up to ambush some of those glass minnows and mullet that are coming around those points. Good areas for this include Sebastian Inlet all the way down to Wabasso, the Thousand Islands area of Cocoa Beach, and then up in the northern section of our region in the northern Mosquito Lagoon from Hong Kong Flat to Slippery Creek. Obviously, a live finger mullet is a great thing to use. 2-aught or 3-aught size hook with 20 to 30 pound leader. If you want to throw that 4-inch Assassin, silver mullet, Mama's 14K, and Houdini seem to be working better on the redfish. Not that the trout won't eat them, but those colors have been specific for the redfish. And I've got a picture of a redfish here. Typical lagoon redfish that we've got right now. Nice little slot fish, a lot of color in them right now. Water's clean and healthy. You guys and gals get a chance, get out there and do some fishing. It's been really good lately.
Sounds like some good fishing, Jim, going on in the East Central region, and we appreciate all the good pictures this week. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Rodan Marine System hotspots. He says inshore speckled trout are striking small live baits and Assassin 4-inch sea shads along the mangrove covered shorelines and flats north and south of Sebastian Inlet. And then offshore, the grouper action is best in the 20-fathom ridge. Look for the good marks on the high relief structure and get a live bait fish or deep jig them down.
All right, the Startron Central West region sure has some good poon chasing tips, but before we see what those are, Rick over here is taking over the CCA workbench for Academy Sports and Outdoors Rigs and Techniques, giving us some of his tarpon catching tips with me, but you know, you're still taking over, so we'll see you at the workbench.
All right.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Fenwick. Feel everything. Sirius XM Marine. Weather. Fish mapping. Entertainment. Penn. Let the battle begin. Casa Vieja Lodge. 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala. Shallow Sport. Legendary performance. And Daiquiri Deck. Food, drinks, friends.
We're over here at the CCA workbench for Academy Sports and Outdoors, Rigs and Techniques with the Tarpon King himself. Rick, you know mostly better than anybody, when the tarpon bite's on, it's on. But when it's off, they can be pretty finicky. So let's talk about some techniques to maybe get tarpon on the line.
There is a few tricks, Brie, that we want to talk about. But, you know, first what I want to say is that, you know, Hageman touched on it a little bit about etiquette.
Etiquette, yeah.
So what I want to tell you guys is, if your guys are fishing with bait or you're throwing lures, understand that there's no way that you can slide that bait or throw that lure in front of a school of fish that's in 5 to 6 feet of water. It's not possible. You're going to have to throw it so close to them that it's going to spook them. So you really don't have any business being there. I don't mean to piss you off, but I'm just going to tell it to you like it is. Yes. That's a place that you're going to let the fly guys get frustrated over there throwing all those fish in the clear water. Understand that if you go to the bridge in the Florida Keys, or you go into a channel like Government Cut, or you go into Boca Grande Pass, or any of the big river systems, the deeper the water, the more the relaxed the fish are going to be, which they're also going to be a whole lot more fish there, which is going to put you in a better chances to getting multiple hookups. Now, so with that being said,
electronics, do they play a role?
They play a huge role. You have to understand that if you guys got 20 or 30 boats in one of these passes or in one of these channels, and everybody's got their electronics, their down side imaging and down imaging, and we're pinging off of them, it can irritate them and it can shut the bite off. It does it on the reefs for groupers and snappers, and why wouldn't it do it to a tarpon? All you got to do is reach over, disable your machine. You don't have to turn the machine off. You just disable the transducer, and everybody will do that. That ticky, ticky, ticky that allows them to hear it, just like sometimes live well pumps can be irritating to them if they need to be replaced. Those are the things that can make a problem for you. Put your live well in a live well and run a bubbler where you're only making bubbles at the very bottom, and it aerates the whole water system all the way to the top. Your bait will be fine, and you're going to be a whole lot more stealth.
So bring your bullhorn and tell everyone to shut them off.
Exactly. Now, the other thing that happens, Brie, is so many times, guys, you know, when we go to fish, our tackle is a huge part of it. I've all now changed to 8-foot Fenwick rods like this. The reason why I like 8 is whether I'm throwing a lure, whether I'm throwing a bait, it's going to just cast that much further. I load it up with 40-pound diamond braid and on a Battle or on a Pin Authority, what my choice is. A 6,500, 8,000 size reel works real well. You're going to want 40 to 60. Now, speaking of that,
I see different leader sizes, different lure sizes.
Correct.
Going to downsize?
Correct. And again, guys, we're talking about fish that potentially can be pressured.
Right.
With that being said, that 60-pound is my kind of the leader that I like to start off with. Now, if there's a lot of big fish around and I'm fishing pinfish on an eagle claw circle hook, what I'm going to do is I'll usually start with 60. Remember, if you got 60 on and you got a big fish and he come up and jump, you need to look to see if you see that lure on the outside of his face. Try to see where the hook is. You might want to change how hard you're pulling if you can't see your hook, because you're just going to help fray through the line. You're going to get more bites with 60 because your bait is going to be a lot more active. It's not as thick a line and it can be more active. Now, for you guys that are fly fishing, there's times, guys, where we have to go down to 30-pound test to get a bite.
Wow.
Well, guess what? That's really very, very light. However, guys, catching a tarpon starts when you get the bite, Brie.
Right.
And if you don't get the bites,
you get a bite.
That's correct. If you don't get the bites, guys, here's the problem. You're just going to be fishing for nothing. So go down to a smaller leader, take your chance. At least you have him on and you're going to have some type of fun.
Right.
You can also, the same thing happens. If you throw in big lures in those rivers, or you're throwing the big lures off of the beach, you can throw these things a mile, you might have to go to a smaller size lure. And just remember that when you do that, you're going to go to this size lure, and then you might even go down to even a smaller lure like so. If you're going to be fly fishing, I'm going to put these down real quick for a second. We start off with big flies like this when we're throwing a sinking line early in the morning at the bridge, but then we may have to go to a fly that's a little bit more sparse, even though it's the same length. But at times, we even got to go these little bitty flies to get a bite. And remember, elephants eat peanuts, guys, and it doesn't matter. They will certainly bite what our offering is.
Right, and when something's not working, you change it up.
Absolutely.
Right? So in addition to persistence and patience, and when you do get the bite, Bowing.
Bow to the king.
Bow to the king.
She knows, guys.
Well,
she knows.
You know, learn from the best over here.
You know. And remember this, if you're picking lures, picking fly colors, darker the sky, darker the fly, meaning a dark fly early in the morning or late in the evening, and then a bright fly during a bright sky. So that's something like this. And if you have any other questions, send me an email. I'll do the best I can to help you.
There we go. Good job, Rick.
Hey, thank you.
It was a pleasure being over here with you.
You did a good job.
Thanks, so did you. Let's roll on into the Startron Central West region and see if Captain Jeff Page can put us on a poon or two in his new boat. Let's go, Jeff.
Oh, yes, ma'am. You know, go light to get on a bike to get your mind right.
Ay.
There it is.
That's it. Hey, you know what? We in the Startron Central West region sit right in between two of the biggest passes that dump out into the Gulf of Mexico, and they're both well known for their tarpon fishery, that being Boca Grande Pass to the south, Egmont Pass to the north, right by the Skyway Bridge. But there is some great tarpon fishing in between. Everybody's heard about the passes and, you know, what can go on there, especially on those hill tides, outgoing tides. But what we have right now going along our beaches in between the two passes, and that's, you know, 70 miles, 80 miles of beaches, we have some of the best tarpon fishing, especially early in the morning, Rick. They can be laid up in a group from 30 to 100 fish. And what everybody likes, from the fly guy right to the bait man, is to have them just happy, floating, milling around, but not boogieing down that beach, which usually gets going once that sun gets bright. But if you can find them early in the morning, they're pretty predictable as long as the weather doesn't change. It's a good idea to maybe have crab, threadfin, and even pinfish. Try free lining, and if you do cork that bait at least 5 feet below your cork. Give him some room to move around underneath that cork. Now, like the guys that do like to throw flies in our region, every inlet has a big sandbar on it, from the Venice Jetty north to Egmont and down to Gasparilla Pass as well. All those sandbars, I heard you mention it, Rick, that 5 to 6 foot of water. The key to our fly fishery here is to be set up on a certain pinpoint that those guys get to know those tarpon are going to come and they're going to get their shot. They may not get their bites, but they're going to get their shot. And then finally, the nighttime fishing around the bridges, be it Longboat Pass Bridge, New Pass Bridge, and even the Venice Jetties, live silver mullet, live ladyfish. You're going to want to have them on free line or a knocker rig, depending on how strong the current is, and you're going to let it go on out with the tide. That being said, I've got a couple really nice photos tonight. One of a big tarpon we caught just last week. I think I sent that picture to you, Rick.
Yes, sir.
My second photo is of young Michael Russo, who's not so young anymore. He's in college, and that's a nice one they got last week in Boca Grande Pass.
All right, tell me about the snook.
Inshore,
Yep.
Snook fishing. Snook remains really good throughout the entire region. And the cool thing is, while you're out there looking for tarpon on the beach, if they're not cooperating or you're not seeing them, slide in on the shoreline and fish any rock piles, down trees, cuts, washes, even little troughs along the beach that might have some moss grass in them. You're going to find the snooks, live pilchards, live pinfish. I like to free line all of them on that beach pattern. And then inside the bay from Longbar Point in Sarasota down to Bull and Turtle Bay on the high tides around the oyster bars. Again, pilchards, but if you like throwing lures, that Berkeley stick shad, and I've been playing with it a lot lately in that big 120 suspending pattern in the chrome. And I've got one more pick. I had to share it from our get-together at the daiquiri deck. That's Brie with a snook she caught with us that day.
Yep, she sure did. All right, let's go offshore, bub.
All right, the cobia fishing remains really predictable. The winds are starting to lay down again, and we're going to have some nice mornings. Guys are getting in that 30 foot of water and seeing up to 7 or 8 cobias either come up while they're snapper fishing or they're already up on top, kind of like permit. But I like to have at least a half dozen big pinfish, but if you do like throwing lures, hand-picked shrimp will work as well. But if you do like throwing lures, a bucktail jig or a white Berkeley gulp shrimp on a half-ounce jig head Got a nice cobia picture with Captain, happy client with Captain Brian Marcy of Breakwater Charters. And my last species tonight, mangrove snapper. With this full moon approaching, snapper fishing's even going to get better throughout the entire region. But right now, look for the fish in that 70 to 110 foot of water, hard bottom areas and ledges from Anna Maria south of Venice, Springs as well. Pilchards, pinfish, and even hand-picked select shrimp on a jig head work good. If you're going to use the cut bait or the pilchard, I like to use a 2-aught or a 3-aught Eagle Claw Trocore circle hook on light 20 or 30-pound fluorocarbon. My last photo is the flying Hawaiian himself, Captain Kalen O'Layer out of Stump Pass Marina with a nice mang.
That is a nice mang. Thank you for all the pictures this week, Captain Page. It is time, though, for the Daiquiri Deck hotspots from the Central West region. Captain Page said a good afternoon bite on the outgoing tide with crabs from Big Pass north to Egmont Key. And then offshore, quality red groupers holding on hard bottom areas in 90 to 110 feet of water off of Venice. Live pinfish or frozen sardines on the stand-up bottom rig will get the job done. You know what I love about this is he didn't even have in his report red groupers, but it's part of his hotspots. It just keeps on giving.
It's a gift that keeps giving. All right, well, speaking of Daiquiri Deck, Rick, Jeff mentioned it a little bit, but we had the best time over in the Central West region. We went to Daiquiri Deck in Santa Maria Island, we went to the Daiquiri Deck in Venice, and we had silent auctions, which we raised almost $3,000 for Heroes on the Water, which was so cool. We got to meet some of our fans. Rick, Dave, and I went fishing for the first time all together in 10 years.
Absolutely.
That was so much fun.
It was really fun.
With Jeff and all the guys on the boat. It was a great day that we just won't ever forget.
No,
it's the first of many, hopefully.
Really
Can you believe 10 years and we've never fished on a boat together?
All right,
I guess we just go to the beach and fish together. All right, well, we've got our weekend tarpon reports coming in from the Dynapack Southeast and Casa Vieja Southwest regions, so stay hooked, plus our friend from CCA Florida Stars joining us with a special message for everybody. We'll be right back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Power Pole, Total Boat Control, Berkeley, Your Fish, Our Science, Bahio Sunglasses, Blue Light Blocking, Radically Clear Lenses, Sea Sucker, Easy On, Easy Off, Incredibly Strong, Blue Water Outriggers, everything for your outdoor adventure, Kubota, Together We Do More, and Yanmar ASV, a leader in compact equipment.
Well, as you can see, Captain Lisa Fitzgerald, the director of CCA Florida Stars with me. That's a lot of titles there, madam.
It is, but I wear them well.
Yes, you do.
Okay,
all right, so let's talk a little bit about the 2023 Stars getting ready to start back up. What do we got this year?
Well, 9th year, and you know, we've been talking about tarpon, so we do have a tarpon division. $10,000 in prizes for the tarpon division, and there is actually 15 total divisions in the Star competition starting May the 27th. But it is the biggest and best prize package that we've got and have ever had, with prizes in our tagged redfish division from Contender, Pathfinder, Carolina Skiff, Deck Cat boats, and our newest sponsor is the Sea-Doo Fish Pro Trophy and the Can-Am Defender prize package, along with youth being able to win 2 different boats. So there's really amazing prizes, $500,000 in prizes. That's pretty cool.
You know, Lisa, the one thing that I love about what Star does is, as we started Star, we have really evolved in making sure that we have something for everybody.
That's right.
You know, because some people, you know, we have our big prizes, or certainly a tagged redfish in some cases, but what if you're not a red fisherman, you fish offshore? Well, now Star has created categories for everybody to win in.
We have the Tigress Tagged Dolphin,
yes,
$10,000 cash. We have a grouper, kingfish, AFCO Dolphin Division. So there's so many cool things, but every fish you catch can win a prize. Doesn't matter. You can add it into any of the divisions. We've got a kayak division, ladies division. There are so many great prizes. And we're going to give you the winning even before the tournament starts, because we have a early registration package that includes a raffle ticket for a Hughes Redfisher, a Salt Strong Redfish Mastery course, and also 25% off TH Marine, your first purchase.
And where do we go to get registered?
All you have to do is go on the website at ccaflstar.com. Call us over the phone at 844-387-7827, and we will register you right there.
You did very good, didn't she, Brie?
Absolutely amazing, but now it's time is of the essence in the Dynapack Southeast region, and tarpon time is now. So let's have Captain Jimbo Thomas give us some details, and happy belated birthday, Jimbo.
Why, thank you, Brie. Hopefully I can do as well. And hello, Rick.
Hey,
you
buddy.
know, tarpon, they're available year-round here in the Southeast region with the best fishing times between February and June. So right now, it's prime time to catch some tarpon. Now, all the deep water inlets and the adjoining beaches hold tarpon, as well as the deeper holes in bridges in the bays and throughout the ICW. In the spring, tarpon are found migrating to the south on the oceanside flats of South Biscayne Bay. They can be targeted on fly quite often. Now, 12 to 20 pound spin or casting outfits, as well as fly, standard tarpon tackle, you want to use 50 to 80 pound mono leaders and circle hooks. Baits vary depending on the time of the year and the fishing locations. Favorites are live mullet, pinfish, shrimp, and crabs. Those are the most common baits. And then in the deep inlets, that's what you want to drift your shrimp and crabs through there. Also, you can bounce bucktail jigs and bait combos, or you can throw swimming plugs and lures, as well as live baits that also work well around the bridges of the ICW and on the oceanside beaches. Now, if you're using live baits, like I said, use a circle hook, because these are all catch and release. In the evenings and early mornings on the outgoing tides are typically the most productive. Now, staying inshore, sea trout fish has been some of the best that we've seen in a while here in the Southeast region. Rickenbacker Causeway north of Oliver Inlet is where these big trout are being caught. The bulk of them are being caught on Gulf lures or small live pilchers. You want to fish them 2 to 3 feet under a popping cork. Use some light tackle, and the fish have been anywhere from just legal up to 3 pounds. Now, the time of day has not been a factor, and you want to try working the edges of the flats on the lower stages of the tides and the potholes on the higher stages of the tides. Now, moving offshore, fishing has been really good this past week. We've been fishing live baits under the kite. It's been a good sailfish bite, quite a few kingfish and blackfin tunas mixed in with the occasional dolphin, and also some mud snapper and cobia on the deep line. Now, goggle-eyed herrings and sardines have been getting all the bites in anywhere from 100 to 300 feet of water. You can also troll planers with a spoon or strip bait to get some king bites, but most all the other bites have been on the live baits. And the best action has been in the late afternoon until dark, but the last couple days it's even been good first thing in the morning. Now, I got a photo here, and this is Jeff Kramer with a nice cobia that he caught the other day with Captain A.B. Raymond.
Nice.
I've been looking for one, but I haven't caught one.
All right.
Now, hogfish season opened on May 1st along with the groupers, and although most people think they can catch hogs or they're spear fishing for them, they don't realize that we can catch them on a hook and line. And aside from great eating, they're a lot of fun to catch on the light tackle. You want to get some live shrimp or fresh frozen shrimp, tongue twister. And we use 12-pound spinners with a 2-0 hook, 1/2 to 1 ounce egg sinker, or you can use a 1/8 to 1/2 ounce jig head. You want to look for hard bottom with fans and ledges or patch reefs in 15 to 50 feet of water and get anchored up. Now, I like to use my Rodan trolling motor on my bay boat, put it on anchor mode, which makes it simple to fine-tune your position. I don't recommend using any live blocked frozen chum, but instead throw a couple handfuls of chopped shrimp and fish the outskirts of the reef instead of right on top. You want to fish your live or dead shrimp in the areas of that shrimp chum. You're going to get a lot of assorted snappers, grunts, and porgies, but eventually the action is going to attract some hawks. And when the action slows, pick up and move to another piece of good bottom or patch reef and repeat. Now, I got a photo here of myself, yours truly, with a nice hawkfish that we caught at the opening of last season off Elliott Key. He ate a dead shrimp on a knocker rig.
Wow, I like that. I don't think I ever caught one on a rod and reel, Jimbo. Maybe one, but that's really cool. I'm glad to hear that.
We'll have to take you out and get one.
All right, I'll make that a date for sure. Thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the southeast region inshore. Jimbo says look for the nighttime tarpon and snook using live or artificial baits in your local inlet. And then offshore, fish live baits in 100 to 200 feet of water for a mixed bag of sailfish, blackfin tunas, kingfish, and occasional mahi.
So you're saying you've shot a hogfish?
I have.
You have? So that means you're in the water.
Well,
Details.
Don't ask.
Don't ask. All right, if you're fishing in the Casa Vieja Southwest region and tarpon is on your mind, it's time to listen in on some suggestions Captain Ronnie Houston has to get them on the end of your line. Ronnie, go for it.
Well, like always, Brie and Rick, it's a pleasure representing the Southwest region. You know, there are many different options and times of year to catch tarpon, and it can really happen all year long all through the region. Now, beaches and passes are just about in full swing right now, anywhere from Marco to Boca Grande, and that's generally what happens year after year around the same time. Now, if you don't want to have to get out into the crowd, most bridge fans are holding fish anywhere right now from Cape Coral to Charlotte Harbor at night, and they're really not too hard to find, especially if the bridges are lit up. Look for those fish on the shadow lines, or look for areas of current. You'll see those fish free jumping or busting baits, and then you can zone in those areas. But as we get into the rainy season, the Peace River, the Caloosahatchee River, feeder creeks and spillways will also hold various sizes of fish all the way down to the Florida Everglades. As most people are chasing down the coast, the fish to the north, you can simply drive back right now from south to the south, from Marco to the Everglades. There will be plenty of opportunity to fish passes, points, and outer Gulf edges to get your shot at a tarpon. Now, in all cases, live crabs, pinfish, herring, mullet, cut baits on the bottom, and plenty of artificial swim baits like the new Bass Assassin Artemis Shad. And one thing I like about that Artemis Shad is it's got a little more meat, and you can use the jig head anywhere from 1/4 ounce up to 2 ounce. So when those tarpon get in that 25 to 40-foot range off the coast, that bait is deadly to catch them with. Along with topwater plugs, subsurface plugs, flies, and bucktail jigs. And I have a couple nice pictures of some tarpon that's been caught while fishing with Captain Chris McCubbin. If you're looking for catching some tarpon down to the south of Naples, Chris McCubbin is your man. Now, as we still stay on the inshore side, the snook. Fish are starting to line the beaches and passes throughout the whole region right now. So to the north, Bull and Turtle Bay focus on points and independent shorelines with current. Coming live pilchards or using live pinfish free-lined or under a cork. But from Fort Myers Beach to Naples, intercoastal docks and seawalls at night, especially as we're approaching this full moon at the end of the week in May. Live shrimp, artificial shrimp, soft plastic 4 to 5 inch flukes, or simply 1/4 ounce to 1/8 ounce bucktails will work. At Marco South, beaches, passes, outer Gulf points with current, as well as rivers that wash out to the middle bays. Baits you want to be using for those fish are live pilchards, cut mullet, and the ladyfish on the bottom, or topwater walk-the-dog lures like the Berkeley Jaywalkers and boner pilchard, or the new lure we've been playing with for the last year, Berkeley Juke, 85, and pilchard, chartreuse, or mullet. All those baits are lifelike in color. I have a picture of a snook recently caught while fishing down south with Captain Derek Daffin. The offshore side, the cobias. Now, the bite has been good if we have moderate weather throughout the whole region. You can start as close as 8 miles and go out to 30 miles. Wrecks, artificial reefs, and towers. You can anchor up by trying to see these fish on top to try to sight fish them, or you can simply chum the area and dropping down live baits like herring, pinfish, or grunts, or you can use the run and gun method to the most noted structure to spend time looking for schools of fish on top, and have a picture of a cobia caught while fishing with Captain Corey McGuire. The last species is going to be the red groupers. To the north, Fort Myers Beach, the Stunt Pass. Ranges are right now 100 to 140 feet. Fish hard bottom, whether it's big or small. Once you find the fish, they're easy to get limits. Start off with cut baits like squid, herring, or sardines. Also have a variety of weights, just in case the current is moving too quick. Got to be on the bottom to feel the bite, so always have a variety of 7 to 10 ounce weights. Live pinfish in case the current is slow moving, it'll trigger a bite. But you can also use what's become pretty popular, your bucktails with squid, and the vertical jigs have been working well. Have a nice picture of a grouper while fishing with Captain Corey McGuire. All these cases and all my reports, winds are going to die down over the weekend. It's supposed to be coming out to the east. Winds are going to be moderate. I'll have the opportunity to be fishing the first tournament of the year at the Lake Okeechobee, fishing against all those hammers. at the Roland Martin Marine Series. So, guys, get out. Plenty of opportunity to catch fish, both inshore and offshore.
All right, Ronnie, thank you so much. Great call this week. Serenity, it's time for the Serenity Bait Company's hot spots. And don't forget, guys, if you go to Serenity Bait Company, you want to get some good stuff, make sure you tell them we called. Inshore, you're going to go redfish from Marco to Rabbit Key, fishing the outer Gulf Islands with Deadwood, Oyster Points, and Oyster Bottom. And then offshore, permit from Marco to Fort Myers Beach at the wrecks, the towers, and the artificial reefs using live crabs and shrimp on a jig head.
Well, Rick, one of our favorite shows is sneaking up on us. Summer is on the way, and that's the Kids Show, June 19th. Our studio is full of young anglers and action-packed with interactive stations that consist of casting, rigging live bait, and knot tying, along with games, prizes, and of course, lots of snacks, and of course, lots of chaos, but we love it. So to sign up, head to our website, FloridaInsiderFishingReport.com, or scan that QR code on your screen you just saw.
I have a secret. Ron McGill's coming with animals.
No way.
Yes.
Oh, it's going to be even more chaotic.
Yes.
It's going to be so fun.
Yes.
Make sure you get your kids in on it.
Please.
All right. Well, we're getting your Fish Bites East Region rigged and ready to go when we come back. But first, Rick and I have some Taco Marine new products at the CCA workbench to show y'all when we come back. Oh.
It's almost margarita time,
Looks like
Mama.
that sombrero had too many margaritas. Jose Cuervo.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Have fun out there. Penn, let the battle begin. Alta Equipment Company, where uptime matters. Ameritrail, load, launch, relax. Rodan, set it, forget it, catch more fish. Discover Crystal River, Florida. Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin. Best lures, period. And Maverick Boat Group, makers of premium boat brands Maverick, Hughes, Pathfinder, and Cobia.
Welcome to the CCA workbench. We're trolling the edge, talking marine new products over here. Rick, we've got some good stuff today. You know, Mother's Day's coming up. I'm seeing a lot of pink. Not that, you know, ladies have to wear pink, but, you know, here it is. So first, we're going to start off with these lovely Eldoras.
Oh, tell me about that.
So these Eldoras, they're actually named after a flat in Mosquito Lagoon, which is renowned for sight fishing for redfish.
Nice.
Yeah, aren't they beautiful? They've got that pink tortoise frame, and the lens is the blue light blocking technology, which Bajío is known so well for. And then we've also got that sun ledge sun blocking. I don't know if you can point to it here.
You can see this right here, this little wedge.
Yeah, you know, that
helps block the sun off of your face and getting the sun getting behind.
Right. So I don't know if we want to show this, because these are the ones I wear all the time, the Soldados, which I love. It's great. Kind of in between fishing style, whatever, but it doesn't have that on the sides here.
Yeah,
so I'm always doing this, whereas with these, you have that ledge blocking, which is really great.
Oh my God.
Such a
Let's
difference.
push 'em up a little. Oh. Does she not look like Catwoman? Let's put some ears on this woman.
Anyway.
You're right.
So they're beautiful. Moving on, what do we have next?
So next we have the Passion 2 from Penn.
Beautiful.
It's a 7-foot rod, Brie, medium action. And what I love about it is they paired it up with a 4,000 size spinning reel. And what I really like is with the split grip here, it's got a lot of great sensitivity. It'll hold 360 yards of 15-pound braid. That's a lot of braid. The idea behind this, guys, is that it's a pretty inexpensive combo. It comes both rod and reel matched. It's very well balanced, as you can see here with by putting my finger right here. Very well balanced. I love that about this rod. I think this would be a great Mother's Day gift.
Absolutely.
Maybe buy two, one for your daughter.
Oh, yeah, there you go. All right, well, next we have the AFTCO Samurai Sun Shirt, which I've got probably 1,000 million bajillion of these because I love them. It's antimicrobial, UPF 50 sun protection, quick dry, also stain release technology, which is really important when you're slinging them fish on the boat and you get maybe a little blood stains here and there. Also, if you're just eating a sandwich, like Dave says, always drops it on his belly. I gotta bring Dave in somehow. We miss him over here.
Right.
And we've also got these thumb holes, which are a game changer for shirts because I don't like them riding up, and then it blocks your hands from getting sun on them. So it's a great shirt all around. AFCO.com.
It is AFCO.com.
And
you can go to
Bahio
BahioSunglasses.com and then certainly PinFishing.com, guys. Yeah. But speaking of Pin Fishing, one of their sister companies is Savage Gear.
That's pretty.
What a great plug this is. You know, here we are this week. We're talking about tarpon. This would be obviously a perfect plug to mimic the thread fin herring that a lot of guys like using, or a large pilchard. With Savage Gear, this is called the Twitch Reaper, and it's 3.5. It comes in a 3.5 and a 4.5 inch size. This particular lure, what I love about it is that it will have a very erratic action underneath, but because of this little blade here, it'll also bite and do the walk the dog type of action. Paired up with 4X, I believe these are probably Fusion 19 hooks, comes with a split ring. And anytime, guys, when a lure comes with a split ring like this, you don't necessarily have to tie it on with a loop. I'd continue to do that because I think it gives you even more action. So you can go to savagegear.com, and they've come in a multiple of different colors as well as different sizes. Got a great rattle in the chamber.
Yeah.
But this is be a perfect plug for big snook and tarpon this time of year. Get you a whole box load full of them.
Perfect timing. This whole package over here, Mother's Day.
Yeah, man.
Better get it.
Mama can catch them on the Twitch.
Oh, yes, you can. Oh, yes, you can. All right, well, we are on the edge of our seats in the Fish Bites East region waiting for the migratory tarpon to show up.
Shut it down.
Which should be in a few weeks. Excuse me, Mike, but let's see what we're catching in the meantime with Mike Holliday. Who are you talking to back there?
He's telling you to lay down.
Trying to get my dog quiet.
There we go. All right, let's get started.
Well, you know, we're rolling into the tarpon season, and the resident fish are showing up in places like Big and Little Mud Creeks and the Harbor Branch Channel and the Indian River, and then Harbor Ridge and the St. Lucie Locks and the St. Lucie River, and around the Boy Scout camp up in the Loxahatchee River. Those are all the resident places, while at the same time, you know, there's fish around the inlets, and we're also seeing the first of the migratory fish pushing up the coast, moving up along our beaches. On the inside, you can cast a saltwater assassin Houdini colored 4-inch sea shad to any of those rolling fish, and just work it very slow with no action, slow as you can reel it, and you'll get that little soft pap, and that'll be your bite. You got to set the hook, or you can put out live mullet on circle hooks. And then around the inlets, it's pretty much live mullet, pilchards, or thread fins on the outgoing tide. And then when you get up on the beach, much like the West Coast, you target them with a purple and black fly, live crabs or pilchards. Mullet will work as well. The average tarpon in my region is going to be like 40 to 80 pounds right now, and that'll get bigger as we get into June. I do have a nice photo. Captain Chris Britton of Port St. Lucie sent me that shot. That's one of his clients hooked up with on the Stewart Causeway. That fish ate a dead mullet. The other bite we got going, the snook bite, is starting to pick up as the fish begin moving towards the inlets. They're getting ready to beef up on mullet before the summer spawn. The most consistent action right now has been at night around the bridges in Lake Worth and Jupiter, Jensen Beach, and Fort Pierce. Live mullet, swimming plugs, and that Artemis shad that we were talking about. The guys were using it for tarpon. These guys are using it for snook on the bridges at night right now. It's been red hot as a bait right now. There's also been a good snook bite around the spillways using that same lure. And then during the daytime, there's been this consistent topwater bite on the seawalls and along the shorelines, and that's mostly at dawn and dusk. And then, you know, as the middle of the day gets there, you got to fish live mullet in those same areas. And around the inlets, you know, a copper juice, 4-inch sea shad, or a live pilchard, or a sand perch is pretty much going to be the hot bait there. Average snook in my region is going to be 5 to 15 pounds. I got a great snook shot that Jason Arman of That's Our Man Fish Land-Based Fishing Charter sent me. That big snook ate a panhandle moon-colored saltwater assassin didapper.
Wow, that is a big snook, Mike. All right, let's roll offshore.
Yeah, you know, the kingfish bite's been the most consistent thing going for blue water anglers, and the fish are spread throughout the region. The best bites have been along the edge of the reef in Palm Beach County, from Sloan's Curve up to the Juneau Pier, even past Jupiter Inlet. And then the Loran Ledge, the 6 Mile Reef, and you know, the beaches on the west wind days are really seeing good kings, a lot of big kings on the beach in places like the Kingfish Hole in Hope Sound and the Vero Cove. Anytime the wind's out of the west, those kings are in those areas. And we're starting to see a general move from offshore to inshore of the bait schools, particularly the sardines. So it's a lot easier to catch bait right now. Sardines, threadfins, pilchards, big blue runners, bluefish, all that's going to work on the kings right now. Put the baits out on a number 4 wire stinger rig, make a lot of turns. It seems like you get a lot more bites going into a turn when that fish is kind of swinging or slingshotting. And average kingfish is 15 to 25 pounds, but there's plenty of, 30, 35, 40 pound fish in the mix. The other thing we got going right now, the full moon is on Friday. That'll have the mutton snapper schooled up, ready to spawn on the Loran Ledge, the sand pile, the 6 Mile Reef, and the 65-foot reef south of Fort Pierce. You'll also find the muttons underneath the kingfish schools. They eat the scraps of the bait fish. King bites the bait in half and then one half sinks to the bottom, and the muttons like to sit underneath them and eat those scraps that fall down. Anchor up over the sand, not over the structure. Drop down a live or dead pilchard, a sardine, a cigar minnow. You can catch some grunts and make grunt plugs. If you don't get a bite in 30 minutes, pick up, move to another spot. Average mutton snapper is like 6 to 10 pounds, but we're seeing a lot of those 12 to 15 pound fish. A really beautiful one I got sent in by Mike Long. He's just been tearing up the mutton snapper this year.
Yum.
That fish he caught in 75 feet of water on a grunt plug.
Mike, all this rain, has it helped the frog fishing for bass? You heard any reports about that?
Dude, you called it, dude. The guys out on Look Show, he said there's just been this amazing late season big bass bite. And last weekend there was a tournament. Out of that tournament, 11 anglers had over 30 pounds. The majority of those fish were caught either on frogs or dark colored worms like a black and blue or a watermelon red glitter with a chartreuse tail colored Bass Assassin RSB worm. They're feeding around the bluegills that are bedding right now from Tin House Cove to Horse Island. And then the big fish bite is on those bluegill beds. But if you want just numbers, the outside grass lines, take a vapor shad, a split tail shad, or a little tapper and work those along the outside edges. And it's like a 10 to 20 fish morning. But the big fish, 7, 8, 9 pound fish being caught every day. I was talking to Nathan Shellen, and I said, he was telling me this report, and I said, he said he just caught a fish. I'm like, well, send me a photo. So he sent this photo. This is a fish they actually had right when he was talking to me.
Oh,
so,
nice.
Yeah, big fish being caught right now, guys.
Oh
Looks like a kid.
That's unbelievable. I love that. Let me just pull one out of the hat while I got the man on the phone.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was saying.
Good report this week, bub. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the TH Marine hotspots from the East region. Mike says, hey, inshore, tarpon and snook at night on the north and the south bridge in Fort Pierce. Use swimming plugs like live mullet and pilchards for bait. And then offshore, kingfish, dolphins, sailfish, and blackfin tunas in 180 to 250 feet of water off Sloan's Curve. And you know what? Kite fishing with live pilchards and threadfins has been really working for that mixed bag.
Hey, you know what? You're looking really good in your Real Legends. I just want to show everybody your beer pocket back here.
I forgot.
You can put a beer there.
I forgot. Well, that tells me what I'm supposed to put there.
Hey, you know what? We all need a little help sometimes, but we're casting into our new products, or our new sponsor, Front Runner Boats. Yep, that's about it. Northeast and Sea Sucker Panhandle regions. When we come back, but before we go, see that QR code on your screen? Wait for it, right there. Make sure you scan it right now to get exclusive access to our live audience sign up throughout the season and all of our social media channels. Plus, if you scan it right now, you can watch our new video on the Captain Rick Murphy YouTube page of us fishing with the Stans fam, AKA our Keys Captain, Sarah Stanzik and her hubby Nick. But make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can see more, and we'll see you soon.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by StarTron. Start, run, and store with StarTron. Berkeley, your fish, our science. CCA Florida, the voice of recreational anglers for over 35 years. Tin Cup, Mountain Whiskey. The Florida Keys and Key West. Come as you are. Diamond Fishing Products. Our reputation is on the line. Murphy's Law Sport Fishing. Book your trip today at murphyslawsportfishing.com. And Strike Zone Fishing.
Well, everyone is jumping for joy in the Front Runner Boats Northeast region, ready to get on some tarpon. Front Runner Boats, Rick, is one of our new sponsors.
They absolutely are. And you know, the cool part about them being the Northeast region sponsor, Brie, is their hometown is right there in St. Augustine, a little place called, I believe, Green Cove, which is on the west side of the area where Tommy loves to fish. So we're really excited. We're going to bring in the owner, Phil, in a few weeks, and we're going to talk about the relationship and what our future holds. And Tommy, I'm really proud of the fact that you got a hometowner representing you guys right there across the street from just about where you live, bub.
That's right, man. Hey, that's great news. Those guys, they make some awesome boats. So yeah, stoked to have them on board for sure.
Yeah, so let's get into it, Dad.
All right, hey, you know what? Tarpon, man. God, one of my favorite fish. Redfish and tarpon, those are my two favorites by far. I get super excited this time of year, just like every year, for our tarpon season to kick off. We had a better season last year and saw quite a few fish both inshore and along the beaches. And I've actually already seen some bigger tarpon starting to show up in the ICW, but you know, it needs to warm up just a little bit more before those bigger migrating fish start to show up in better numbers. And we have a great tarpon fishery here all summer long and even into the early fall months, even the late fall last year. Now we get some big migrating fish right along the beach, mostly feeding on pogies during the summer, and then later on mullet as we get into the late summer and the fall. Now, a favorite way to target tarpon in the Northeast region, one way is to fish behind the shrimp boats. When the shrimpers dump their bycatch, you're gonna find the tarpon eating their way through the floating dead fish. It's one of the few ways that you can sight fish big tarpon in my region. Now, you can also fish for tarpon around the pogie pods along the beach. I like to use a 6/0 to up to even a 10/0 circle hook, depending on the bait size, and just free line or float a live pogie or mullet around those bait pods. Now, you can also fish a bait under the pogie pods, and sometimes you're gonna get more bites doing that. Now, my clients have also had some great success hooking tarpon by tossing the Fish Bites jerk bait in white specifically, rigged on a heavy jig head, just like we did on the Sportsman's Adventures episode this year. We hooked some monsters on that lure.
Yes, we did.
Now, those beach tarpon, yeah, we did. Those beach tarpon average about 60 to 100 pounds. But guys, we'll see fish upwards of 150 pounds as we get into the summer. Now, we have a good population of smaller tarpon on the other side of things in the canals and some of the bigger, longer creeks throughout the region as well. Now, those relatively smaller tarpon are already starting to show up in good numbers in the south end of the region from Daytona up to about Palm Coast. A big live shrimp, mud minnow, or a finger mullet under a float or free line is going to work really well for those smaller tarpoons. And I've got a photo here. This is our good buddy from Fish Bites, Scott Jones, along with his wife Leslie, and their tarpon selfie that they caught along the beach there last summer.
They did good, man. That's a great picture. All right, what else you got for us inshore, bub?
Trout, man. This is my favorite time of year to target big trout. And you know what? Top water is going to account for most of my big gator trout that we catch. The Berkeley Jaywalker 120, man, it's really getting a lot of love on my boat this year. And the trout really like to crush the plug. That color that you've got there was working really well. The black gold has also been a favorite color this week. Now, if you get out early this weekend, I would target the edges of the bigger flats and any kind of steep drop off right along the intercoastal on that low tide. All the bait's gonna be pushed out, and the trout and the redfish are gonna be real close by those bait schools. Now, there's also been some nice trout hanging under the docks throughout the region, and at night specifically, they're loaded up right now around the dock lights, along with some bluefish and some ladyfish. There's a lot of action if you get out there at night. Now, moving offshore, the mahi bite continues this week offshore. It's been a little tough to get out there. We've had a lot of wind, but I spoke to Captain Jason Hadges. He told me he's been getting into a good mahi bite this week, but also into some sailfish, some wahoo, and some really large blackfin tunas. It's been a great mixed bag pretty much this whole winter and spring. The mahi bite isn't wide open just yet, but Jason says the fish have been on the large size on average, and he expects the bite to only get better over the next couple of weeks. So it's probably a good time to get out there and take a look. And I've got another photo here. This happy young dude, he caught this big mahi aboard the J-hook with Captain Jason. east of St. Augustine. You can see a couple of tunas and even a wahoo back there, man. That's a
pretty good day.
That's a good day.
That's a mixed
wahoo,
bag
dude.
if I've ever seen one.
All right, tell us about the
job.
yellowfins, man.
Man, there's been some big old yellowfins caught over the past few weeks. I spoke to Captain Adam Jeffrey from Real Dream Charters. Tells me he's been on the yellowfin bite, or the yellowfin bite has been wide open here lately. Captain Adam said they've been catching them to about 90 pounds, and the average fish is about 50 pounds. Now, it's going to be a long haul to get out to where those fish are hanging out. They're going to the other side of the Gulf Stream, so that's anywhere from about 80 to 100 miles. Now, they target the temperature breaks or eddies, and they're going to look for those on some of that recent satellite imagery with all kinds of fun tools that you can get onto online these days. Captain Adams said when you see that 80 to 82 degree Gulf Stream water drop to about 78, you're probably in the right area for those tunas. If possible, they'll also use a radar to find birds. And I've got one last picture here. This is Adam and crew with a couple of those big yellowfin tunas and sushi time there in the Northeast region.
You're absolutely right, bud. Thank you so much. Great start for Front Runner this week. We appreciate your effort, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at the strike zone. Northeast hotspots, he says, inshore, trout, redfish, snook along the shell bars of the ICWs on the early morning low tide, toss top waters around those bait schools, and offshore, a great mixed bag to troll. Blackfins, mahi, sails, and a few wahoos are all hanging around the ledge right now, so go check it out.
Mixed bags for sure. All right, well, we still have a few more weeks to catch some rolling beach tarpon in the Sea Sucker Panhandle region. Captain Pat Deneen has plenty of other species for us to target, so go for it, Pat.
Yeah, Brie, we definitely have a few more weeks. I mean, tarpon fishing is definitely becoming more and more popular, and we do have tarpon in our area year-round, specifically the juvenile fish in the creeks and the bayous. But tarpon are mainly targeted in the summertime. You know, the big mature fish, they start to show up in the spring and are around until cooler water in the fall pushes them south. So with that being said, the best time to catch tarpon in the Sea Sucker Panhandle region would definitely be late May into August, when good numbers of fish are along our beaches and they're mostly heading to the west. And this year the fish are starting to show up early. A few have already been caught. They're usually going to be found on top of the bar after the color change. You're going to see them rolling and swimming along in small groups to big schools, off the piers, swim baits are the preferred tarpon lure, while from the boat, the anglers like to cast flies, soft plastic jerk baits, and live minnows. You want to use a 50 to 60 pound fluorocarbon leader and anchor up or drift, letting those fish come to you. Gulf side, the tarpon are going to be, you know, as small as 30 to 40 pounds on the very small side to well over 100 on the large side. And then there's a photo from this past summer of Jim Bailey from Houston. And he was an awesome tarpon fisherman. He's closing the deal on a fish. He wanted to jump out of the boat and catch it from the water. So that's him doing it right there.
That's a cool photo.
Dude. That is really cool.
It really is.
All right, tell us about the crevalles.
Yeah, Rick, staying inshore, we've had some really nice weather this week. Anglers either fishing from the beach or from boats along the beach are finding plenty of jack crevalle. Anywhere from Cape San Blas to Pensacola, big schools of jacks are cruising the bar and the trough. It's definitely an excellent sight fishery where lures are the way to go. Topwater baits rapidly skipped across the surface are going to result in some really cool explosive topwater bites as the jacks run down the lure. Fly anglers, they do real well with crease flies, poppers, and streamers. And I like to take the hooks off a topwater lure, turning it basically into a teaser and bringing the jacks to my fly anglers. You know, it's the old bait and switch technique, and it works really, really well. Beachside jacks can be as small as 10 or 12 pounds, or, you know, well over 30 pounds. And there's a photo of Chef Danny Trace from New Orleans with a really nice panhandle jack he caught on a topwater bait, you know, right off our pretty white sand beaches. That's been pretty good, Rick. And then staying offshore, the yellowfin tuna, kind of like what Tommy just mentioned. The rigs and the fads has been real good. Captain Matt Champion on Championship Charters in Destin had a really fine catch of yellowfins in the 60 to 100 pound class by live baiting and chunking. That's a preferred method to target the tuna. You want to use blue runners, herrings, or small tunas for live bait. But you also want to have a heavy spinning rod rigged up with a popper, and make sure your hooks on the popper are heavy duty. You want to take those, you know, take them off from the box and put some good strong hooks in there. Best bite is usually up current of the structure, and first light or last light is the time to get them. real chance of encountering a bluefin tuna out there right now as well. And then finally, offshore, Rick, as I've been saying the last several weeks, the vermilion snapper still is the go-to fish for the offshore anglers. I spoke with Captain Ronnie Ruspondic, Rooster Tail Charters in Pensacola. He reports a really good bite in state water, so you don't have to go too far offshore to catch them. You're going to find them on hard bottom areas, and also on artificial reefs and wrecks. You want to use a 2 to 3 hook chicken rig baited with cut squid or minnows, and sometimes you can get a little bit off the structure, down current of the structure. You're going to get away from the triggerfish, and you're going to find more minnows. The vermilion or mingo snappers, as we like to call them up here, are running up to about 3 pounds, sometimes 4 pounds.
All right, Pat, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the blue water outrigger hotspots from the Panhandle region. Now remember this, guys, if you go to shopbwo.com and use the code FIFR for 5% off on your first purchase, that'll get you some discounts courtesy of the red, white, and blue, right, Brie?
Yep.
Inshore, we're talking about headed to St. Joe Bay for big trout on grass beds, cast topwater, walk the dog, or popper baits early, and fish live baits in the channels and the potholes during the midday. And then offshore, do an overnight trip to the rigs for yellowfin tunas and possibly a bluefin. Use live hardtails or tunas and chunk with some cut bait.
All right, well, I know you're all waiting to hear what the tarpon reports are in the Yanmar ASB Keys regions, but you're just going to have to wait a little bit longer, and we'll be right back.
You hear that?
What?
That's my throat telling me.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Fenwick, feel everything. Island Lures, tournament tackle. The IGFA, every fish, every water, every angler since 1939. Sportsman's Adventures with Captain Rick Murphy, fishing for adventure. Real Legends, available at bellsflorida.com. Dynapack, your partner on the road. And Taco Marine, troll the edge.
Power pole shallow water anchors aren't just for fishing. I use mine every day at the boat ramp. First, I get my bow rope ready and secured to my boat. Second, after the boat floats off the trailer, I walk the boat down the dock, push the back of the boat off the dock, and lower my power pole anchors. I then secure my bow line to hold the front of the boat. Using the power pole like this is a great way to prevent dings and dents and scratches on my boat, and keeps my boat tight to the dock without having to tie 2 lines off. Another great way to use my power pole at the docks, especially when they're busy, is sometimes after a charter, I'll come to the ramp and every slot will be full of boats. But over to the east or west of the ramp, there'll be a beach. I take my bow of my boat and beach it, lower my 2 poles, climb out of my boat, go get my truck, back in an open slot, go back to my beach, jump in my boat, load it up on the trailer, and I'm out of there. And that is the power pole tip.
That was a good power pole tip.
It sure
Captain
was.
Jeff Page.
He's got it going on.
Yes, he do. All right, tarpon and the Yanmar ASB Keys region go together like Jose Cuervo and limes.
Yes.
So let's hear what we have to look forward to for the season. Talk to us, Sarah.
Hey everyone from the Yanmar ASB Keys region. The Florida Keys is one of the top locations for margaritas, yes, and also to catch tarpon. They're definitely here this time of year, especially in huge numbers. It's our kind of peak season for them, the springtime now. So they are one of the most sought-after sport fish that there is, and for good reason. They put up a great fight. They pull really hard. They do awesome jumps and aerials, tricks. They're really fun. They have hard head shakes. As for catching them, they'll eat many types of flies as well as live and dead bait, so they really appeal to a wide variety of anglers, too. For bait fishing, we use live crab or mullet, and we like to fish near the bridges and in channels where there's good water flow. Your best shot at catching a tarpon is to hire a guide, though, who knows where to go, and jump on a charter boat to get hooked up. So that's how a lot of people come. They travel here and they'll hire a guide. So I really recommend doing that. Here's a nice picture of a fish being released with a guide, Captain Rick Stanton.
Nice. All right, what else you got for us this week?
Inshore, there's been a lot of bonefish around, little guys, but we really like to see those smaller fish because they're going to be the next, bigger fish, hopefully. So lots of little small bonefish around on the flats. They're really fun to catch. They'll buzz your drag and your real good fighting fish. Live shrimp is one of our favorite baits to use for them, but also a lot of people go fly fishing for them. They're really challenging to fly fish at. So here's a nice little fish that was caught and released by Captain Bill Bassett.
Nice. So you got an offshore report. You had a little wind on Sunday, but how was it before that?
Oh my gosh, a lot of wind on Sunday. It blew like 40 mile an hour. Oof, but 2 days before that, it was a slick calm day. That happens. We get really calm days and then it blows a gale. But 2 or 3 days before that windy day, there were a lot of swordfish caught like back to back and a couple days of calm weather. So swordfish offshore, the bite's been decent. It was last week before the wind came. It is a trek to go out for them, about 25 to 40 miles, so you do need a calmer weather pattern to try to do it out to the swordfish grounds. The best water depth to target them in would be anywhere between 15 to 1,800 feet of water. And for bait, we like to use a whole squid or like a mahi bonito belly strip. And you can drop that all the way to the bottom and make long drifts waiting for a bite. So it is a challenging and somewhat tedious type of fishing. It takes a lot of practice and patience too, but it is so rewarding when you do catch one. So if you go out and try it, just don't be disheartened if you don't get one your first time. Keep trying. But take a look at this one caught a few days ago before the wind. That's a 412-pounder caught at Bud Mary's on the Jimmy charter boat. Yeah, a lunker.
Dang.
All right, tell us about the snapper.
Good one.
Please, Sarah.
And snapper. Mutton snapper, one of my favorite fish to eat. They're off the Keys. They're really good bite this time of year. It's in the springtime is a good time for them. They're on those deeper waters off the wrecks and the reefs and some kind of structure. So anywhere in like 100 to 200 feet deep. Use a live pilchard, a ballyhoo, or a pinfish on a 5/0 circle hook, and a 20 to 30 foot long leader and a 1 pound weight. So the long leader is important. They're kind of picky, so long leader. They are fun to catch. They pull really hard for their size. Really good to eat. White flaky meat. And here, look at this picture of these people. You might recognize a couple of them with that month.
Oh, hey!
Look at that! I'm so
awesome.
jelly of that. You know what?
That was a fun day.
It looks like a fun day. So, Sarah, what do you think about maybe you and I and Brie doing a show out of Isla Mirada for Sportsman's Adventures in this near future? What do you think? You think we can make that happen?
Absolutely, let's do it. Well, I'll be a good team.
I'm in.
We're gonna let
Rick,
Nick.
you know, I went back to that permit spot 2 weeks later, and I caught 50 permits, so I smashed our record of 30 the one day you were there.
Wow, I'm so choked up about that. That's
literally
crazy.
We should definitely do a Sportsman Adventure episode. It's good.
That would be fun.
All right.
All right, we're in.
All right, count us in.
Book it.
We'll talk later.
All right.
All right. We're gonna go ahead and take a look at the shallow sport Florida Keys hotspots. Bree, read those while I go get something to drink.
All right, Captain Sarah Stanzik says inshore tarpon have been biting well this past week around bridges and in channels where there is good water flow. Try to hit the outgoing tide and use a live mullet or a crab. And then offshore, blackfin tuna biting on the humps offshore. Try to get there early in the morning with live bait like pilchards, which will give you the best shot at catching them. Are you okay now?
Thank you.
All right.
I had to have a sip.
A little water break over here. All right, we've got a bunch of Keys tournaments coming up, so let's take a look at them right now. First up is the Nick Sheehan Dolphin Rodeo in Tavernier, which benefits a community scholarship fund and offers cash prizes, including $25,000 to the angler with a dolphin fish that breaks the state record. Then we have the Marathon Offshore Bull and Cow Dolphin Tournament, where at a grand prize of at least $10,000 in cash goes to the team catching the largest bull and cow dolphin fish combined. I know that Lisa said she was going to be fishing that one.
Right.
Next is for the mamas in the Mother's Day Dolphin Tournament, fishing 4 divisions. The Weekend Warrior, ladies, junior, and pros are all invited to fish for a cause supporting Habitat for Humanity of the Middle Keys. Then is the Lower Keys Chamber of Commerce Dolphin Tournament in Little Torch Key. Get registered now to be amongst the first 50 boats who are eligible to win $20,000 for the largest dolphin weighing over 50 pounds.
Whoa.
Whoa. For more information on Keys tournaments, visit flakeys.com. But anglers, tarpon time is almost over here, but just getting started out there. So make sure you stick around to find out what we're fishing for next week on the Florida Insider Fishing Report. And I think we got some Cinco de Mayo celebrations
That's
to
it.
be
I'm
had.
ready.
All right, next week we're talking bait. Everyone needs bait in their lives because we're all about the bait.
All
so make
about the
sure
bait.
to tune in. But right now, we're actually making margaritas because it's Cinco de Mayo,
which means
Friday.
Cinco Drinko.
Cinco de Drinko or Cinco de Clinko. Once your margaritas are poured with Jose Cuervo over here. How much you want? All the way to the top?
Yeah, what's wrong with you?
I don't know.
There's no such, there should never be a rule of half. You don't fill your tank on your car to half, do you? Fill it up.
Depends on the account. Drinko, Clinko, and what do they say?
Guys, I hope you all have a great weekend. Don't forget, you might want to celebrate. Have a margarita on Friday.
Absolutely. Get out there, catch some tarpon if you can. Just catch fish. Send us those pictures. Check out our social media pages, YouTube. Sarah Stanzik is on this week, so make sure you check that out. And thanks for tuning in. Cheers.
I'm grateful for you talking, Brie, while I eat.
No problem.
Thank you. I love you. Bye-bye.